start. All right, so I think I've talked about this in other videos, and I wasn't directly asked this question, to be fair, but I want to talk about it anyway. So I made my own question. So there, it's my stream. I'm going to do it. Okay, the term DevOps. So just the first thing I need to tell you about this. And this is not going to be a long video. The first thing I need to tell you about this is the term DevOps really triggers certain people, for different reasons. Triggers people for different reasons. And yeah, we're not going to talk about SRE. We'll make a whole video about that one. And somebody actually asked the question. Yay, it's official now. And so I personally prefer infrastructure engineer. So I have a little story about this. Okay, so everybody here knows I got my job from my live stream. My current job, infrastructure. It's a long story. I'll save it for another day, or come into my stream and we'll talk over beer sometime. And I'll tell you my story about how I got this job. If I could spell it, infrastructure. Structure. Yeah, that's probably why they say DevOps. It's easier to write. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for the help. Long story short, the job application, I promise is going somewhere. The job application said, we are not hiring a DevOps person. And the posting was for an infrastructure engineer. So I'm going to say some things that are just kind of cultural, I don't know, insights, whatever you want to call it. But there seems to be a vibe in IT, particularly among high-end professionals, people who've got experience, both young and old, not just old farts like me, but everyone, that they just don't like the term DevOps. It's a term that has been abused by pointy-haired types, which is a Dilbert reference, and people who are in architecture, and nobody knows. Pardon my French. I think it's actually Scottish. What the fuck it means. They don't know. They don't know what it means. And actually DevOps is all about to a certain group of people who go to conferences and pay god awful money for lunch together with other executives. They think DevOps is this field of science, about the relationships between developers and operations. And they talk all about, in terms of people and infrastructure and IT and stuff like that. And then to another person, DevOps is, you really know CI/CD and a ton of other buzzwords, and you use GitOps and blah blah blah, and you probably know containers and Kubernetes. And that most of the people that come across the stream here, that's where they've used the term DevOps. But when they say they want to be a DevOps engineer, the first question that I would have, well, what do you think that means? And you kind of have to answer that for yourself. Like, no one really knows what it means, right? So they knows what this means. So another one too, the thing that triggers the old hats, people with a lot of experience, is people will get certified, or they'll call themselves a DevOps engineer, and it turns out they know how to write Node apps and deploy them to GitHub, and maybe do it, use CI/CD, and they don't even have Kubernetes experience. And some of them, think that they have Kubernetes experience, and then others, there's just no consensus about what the word means. It's a lot like full stack engineer, which don't even get me started on that. So I'm just going to warn you, just avoid the term. Just avoid the term. Be more precise in your communication. And I think that way, you'll avoid the term, and the risk of being judged, frankly, because I absolutely know that there are certain engineers and people who, SMEs, subject matter experts, people like that would judge you intensely if you called yourselves a DevOps engineer. They would instantly throw you into a category of people who don't know what they're talking about, and that's not fair, because you probably do. So Azure DevOps. Let's call our product Azure DevOps. Yeah. Your company calls everything DevOps. Yeah, and I mean, this is, this about me. I actually like precision in language. I may suck at it on occasion, but I think language matters, and particularly in IT. And I'm really avoiding a rabbit hole here by talking about SRE and full stack and all these other terms that don't mean anything to anyone specifically. There's like you can just throw the whole kitchen sink in it. And DevOps is one of those terms. So what I would suggest, an infrastructure engineer is broad, but it's broad on purpose, right? If you say you're an infrastructure engineer, that means first of all that you actually know about infrastructure. So you know about the job description that I got and that I applied for that was for an infrastructure engineer. It said that you needed to know the basics of networking. They didn't say this, but it was assumed by the title that I needed to know, what RAID 5 was. I need to know hardware to some extent. I need to be able to build my own machine. Because truly a Kubernetes, this is a Kubernetes position, but there's enough overlap with the infrastructure team, which is a specific team, that having an infrastructure engineer who knows how to build machines and then put Kubernetes on them was what they're looking for. Not to mention, optimize them for the GPU to do machine learning and HPC and stuff like that, high performance computing. So, here's one comment. It's very interesting from CompCold. We got rid of the terms DevOps and SRE a couple years ago. We call them Dev Support now. Interesting. So this is kind of all thing. And that's probably fine too. The problem really is the titles, period. I mean, nobody does what's in their title. They do a number of different things based on role, but other than like Zappos, I think is the only company that has taken on role-based approach to compensation and to employment, where you're actually hired for and you put on multiple hats, and those different hats paid differently combined and together. And I mean, very few companies are organized to do that. So unfortunately you get like IT associate as an IBM thing, or these general terms about being, but then you always have to qualify our position. But I guess this video is mostly about just a warning that if you use the term DevOps, there are definitely people who will look at it pejoratively. They will think that, well, what does that mean? And they'll usually ask you that next. And by avoiding the term in ways, by speaking specifically about what you do, speaking specifics, right? Specifics about what you do. Or if you're going to pick a title that's actually got a certificate behind it, like, or use like, certified titles. And then people want to know what those titles are, then they can go look it up. You can say, well, this is what's on that test, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually part of the basis for something I'm going to plug again, something I've been building called the Open Merit Credential System. No, Open Credential Merit System. Which is designed, hopefully, I'm not anywhere near finished, merit system. It's just a way of listing out, this kind of thing. Because then you can say, well, and I have a title. That's why I have a title. One of them is called Tech Associate. And a Tech Associate is like, well, what does that mean to you? Well, here's the list. And, you can actually hand the list to somebody you're interviewing or being interviewed by. And you can say, hey, this is what I mean by that. Use certified titles when possible. I'm not saying get certified. I'm just saying use certified titles. So you can call yourself like a cloud native engineer. A cloud native engineer is a weird word. Cloud native is a very weird word, but it has very precise meaning, and we'll get into those later. The short answer is that cloud native precisely means you're using cloud technologies on-prem and in the cloud, not necessarily just in the cloud, versus like a cloud engineer, which would mean that you would be expected to be, proficient in one or more cloud platforms, whereas cloud native is, that's a different video, but cloud native has a very precise meaning. Cloud native engineer, when you say those words, you invoke a thing that's already got a list of, somebody can actually go look at the write-up there. And titles matter. I'm just gonna say it again. Like in Canada, you can't even call yourself an engineer unless you have a license. And there's other ramifications of that all over the place. So get as specific as you can in your title if you want to use a certified one. Or, just say what you do. Say, what do you do? You say, well, I spend most of my day, and describe what you do, right? Describe what you do, like, and that always means more to people anyway. It's kind of more of a story, right? Well, tell me a little bit about what you do. Describe what you do. Well, I'm a YAML programmer, right? It's the happy one. Yeah, America does abuse the engineering term. Absolutely. Software engineer is another term I absolutely hate. there's very few cases where a software engineer would apply, and at Mac, you would be one of the people that I would call a software engineer because you're doing embedded, device engineering that relates to software too. But anyway, just be precise. Describe what you do, day to day, and that will lead into a conversation about this. Most of the time, this term is going to come up. It's going to be when you're talking about job potential, or you're at a meetup, or you're on a date with somebody you met at a convention. What are you? Oh, I am a senior DevOps engineer. What does that mean? It's really cool. Oh, okay. No, it's like I sit in front of a computer. Find something else. Find some other way to describe it. That's the end. I really don't have anything else to say. Does anybody else have anything else to say? I'm a connoisseur computer programmer. I prefer to think of myself as a tech evangelist. Kangas, that's awesome. And Europe is a bit different. If you are called an engineer, if you have an engineering degree, DevOps are typically systems administration, and now also do development, but don't have the engineering degree. Interesting. See, that's not the DevOps over here at all. So you know what I'm saying? There's lots of ways of doing it. Just keep language precise as possible. That will avoid the most ambiguities. Usually, people that speak in ambiguities are hiding something, and don't hide things unless you want. Well, I'm an engineer. What kind of engineer? I can't even think of a joke there. Someone make a joke. Insert joke. I'm sure there's plenty of jokes out there. You get 3 pies and do it anyway. I'm a Raspberry Pi engineer. I'm a Pi engineer. I don't know. Time to end this video. Bye.